Mr. Mayor, at 7 o'clock.
I will call the December 4th meeting to order and recognize Councilwoman Kathy Condon to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we ask for your grace and your blessing. We ask that you give us the wisdom to make the right decisions for the town and to live our lives in the manner you would like. We want to pray also tonight for Randy Jones,
Amen.
who has undergone some more surgery and is in need of our prayers, so please remember him. And I also want to pray for all of the military deployed in foreign lands
Amen.
that give us the right to be here tonight. We ask this in your son's name.
Amen.
Amen. Agenda is reading of the minutes from November 6th. Is there a motion for approval?
I make a motion.
Any discussion? All in favor of those minutes being approved as written, do so with show of hand. And the next is for the November the 12th. Is there a motion for approval of those?
I make a motion.
And second.
Second.
Any discussion on those?
Mr. Mayor, is your mic on?
Yeah, I was just thinking it wouldn't be loud.
Bring it up. Yeah, bring it up, Hardy.
Move it up closer to you.
Yo, it's not working. Why do you always say?
Hardy and electronic equipment.
I think so.
You tear up those things.
Put it up here on your call. You gotta go higher. Go higher. Sure.
All right.
Higher.
Move the mic higher on your neck.
Well, it should be picking up better. All right. Now, did we vote on those? We just had a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Any discussion on those? Steve?
With the meeting, the minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
All in favor of those being approved, do so with show of hands. Next. Is it, you can know it? Can you hear it? Man. Must be a jinx. See, it goes there. Oh. Let me just get this thing out here.
Take the wiring out of your pocket. Maybe that's what's doing it. It's pulling the.
Next is our administrative briefing. Is Mr. Brown, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, we're council approved for January 10th at 6 o'clock to have the penny tax people come down here and give a presentation to the citizens and to the council, and they will take questions. They're here to tell us about all the penny tax projects that are on the board, but
Yours just went out.
You said January 10th at 6 o'clock?
that's a Thursday at 6 o'clock. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Registration is also registration is also open for the 2019 Hometown Legislative Action Day, and that is going to be on the 5th of February. So if you want to go, please let me or Renee know about it because it's a $100 fee and we need to pay it. So look at your calendars and see if you want to attend that. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Brown on the briefing?
Yeah, on item D, on the briefing, the appointment to the Planning Commission.
Yes, sir.
Did you advertise that?
We never do. That's why we have the talent book.
So the answer is no.
Not required to. That's why we have the talent book.
I
We
didn't
had
say
two
you
people that
required. I asked you, did you advertise?
did not. We've got
Okay,
two
that's
applications.
great. Okay, thank you.
looking at my pocket. We'll see. There it goes. Any other questions of Mr. Brown on the briefing? None. Next will be the code enforcement update.
Everybody ready? Good evening, everybody.
Who are
My name
you?
is Chris
Who are you?
Caterly.
Wait a minute. Who are you? I can't hear
I'm
you.
with the Code Enforcement Division
There
of
you
the
go.
Police Department. For those of you who have never seen me before, this is the November 2018 Code Enforcement Report. So this is a breakdown of our violations that we had. We had 2 unsightly violations. We had 11 conditions for collection, 34 business checks. There's some asterisks there. We'll get over on the next slide about what that's for. Vehicle violations unrelated to FYP. FYP is front yard parking. There were 30 of those violations. Signs removed. We had 111. 49 of those signs were removed by Special Agent Klein and his people. And
Special Agent Klein?
yes, Special Agent Klein, wherever he may be. And then we had 3 animal complaints and 9 miscellaneous complaints. The miscellaneous complaints are just different code enforcement complaints that don't fit in the categories I already mentioned. They may or may not have resulted in a violation. There's Special Agent Klein. So this is the continued portion. We had 0 illicit discharges for the month of November. Witt's been staying on top of that, which is really good. The newest sewer ordinance, which is 1807, we had 1 violation, and the violator gained compliance within the grace period. We only had 1 ticket issued for the month of November out of the 158 cases investigated by code enforcement. And that 1 ticket was for the unsightly. This is the front yard parking update for August 1st through November 30th. So far, 191 residents have been issued abatement notices for front yard parking. Only 2 residents were issued tickets for not complying within the grace period. And Zoning Administrator Brown has a list of 66 properties that are approved for pads, last updated on October 12th. And those pads are for like the handicap exceptions, stuff like that. And this is the new slide, the new request of the breakdown to the business license enforcement. So of the 34 business licenses that were checked, only 5 of them were complaints by citizens, and the other 29 were encountered by officers on patrol. So that could be Officer Stokes, Officer Montgomery, myself, or anybody who gets out and checks on the business license. And that is it. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, you said 5 were from citizens. The rest of them were just y'all dropped by?
So the 5 citizen complaints, so if Joe Blow, who lives at 123 Main Street, drove on Doncaster Drive and saw somebody working in 100 block, and he called dispatch and said, hey, there's an unlicensed contractor there, that would be a citizen complaint. The other 29, so if Montgomery's driving down Chadford Road and he sees somebody without a sticker and he gets out and checks them, they don't have their license, that'd be an example of an officer one. So again, only 5 of them were complaints by a citizen, and the other 29, the officers collectively found.
And that's for how long?
That's for just the month of November.
Isn't that a lot? It seems that to me, but I don't know. So
It's a good bit considering everything else we do. I mean, that's just a small portion of all the other complaints that we investigate. So, and it's obviously very important.
thank you. Glad
Yes,
you
ma'am.
have a beard.
I know you can't wait for us to get rid of them.
I know, but I contributed, and I'm ready
We
to
appreciate it.
contribute
The kids
again.
will appreciate it too. Chief Barry did a great job with that. For you guys who don't know why I have this, is because we're raising the money for the Shop with a Cop. So Chief Perry adopted some families that we get to go take shopping, and so that's why everybody has some facial hair. So it's a very good cause.
Do we raise enough money to do something?
Yeah, we got $600 raised up.
Cool.
We've got, I think, 2 families from Young's Chapel right here that we're gonna help out.
I want you to know that I shaved my beard off yesterday, okay? So
Good. I'm glad. It looks good on you. I'm not under oath, right?
The 2 tickets, are those the same 2 that had already been to court and already?
I'm sorry. I think it was just 1 ticket, Mayor.
No, on the,
For the front yard parking?
yeah,
I
Those
can't
are the-
swear to it, but
that's the 2 that's already been to court and already been resolved. Okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't two more after that period. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Next is amendments to the agenda. Any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none. Next is consideration of communications, and we have Ms. Kimberly Tissot, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, with Able, South Carolina.
I am going to just move over here.
It'll be fine.
And this is just a very simple example of how easy it is to accommodate people with disabilities. So, good evening. First, I would like to say thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Kimberly Tissot, and I'm the executive director of Able, South Carolina, which is a nonprofit organization promoting independence for people with disabilities. We are also the state affiliate for the Southeast ADA Center, so we offer a lot of technical assistance. With outreach throughout the state, we confront stereotypes, disability rights, and we empower independence throughout our community. The majority of our staff and board of directors are people with disabilities, so we did not just learn our mission, we live it every day. I'm sure with my introductions, you probably know why I'm here tonight. I'm here to educate. As a person with a disability, I want to say I'm disappointed in Irmo. People with disabilities are disappointed in Irmo. Although I see where the reasonable accommodation policy will be discussed tonight, you are really late in the game because disability rights are not new. People with disabilities have had true rights since the Federal Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Later in 1990, George H.W. Bush signed and advocated for the Americans with Disabilities Act. The ADA is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all aspects of public life, including jobs, schools, transportation, in all public and private places. The Fair Housing Act is similar and prohibits discrimination for a number of populations, including people with disabilities, and protects their rights regarding housing. The purpose of the ADA is to make sure that people with disabilities have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. I like to tell people that reasonable accommodations allows us to have an even level field. They're not special treatment. Accommodations are not special treatment. It allows us to be active and remain in the community. The ADA has 5 different acts, and I'm going to be very brief with kind of explaining what these are. So Title I is employment. Title II is state and local government, which is you all. Title III is public access, so that could be like your restaurants and stores. Title IV is telecommunications. There's a whole list of things that you have to do to provide effective communication. And then there's Title V, which is miscellaneous. This evening, I'm going to focus on Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is for the state and local government, and which city of Irmo must comply with. Title II of the ADA prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability, requires public entities to make their programs, services, and activities accessible to individuals with disabilities, outlines requirements for self-evaluation and planning, making reasonable accommodations to policies, practices, and procedures where necessary to avoid any type of discrimination. Identifies architectural barriers, and I know just walking up here this evening, I noticed that the accessible parking spaces for people with disabilities do not comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And just on your agenda as well, you're supposed to have information on how to request a reasonable accommodation in advance listed on your agenda. All activities and services and programs are covered under the ADA, including employment, public meetings, court activities, and programs, police, fire, voting, emergency management, parks and recreation, and it goes on. Website services must also be accessible, and I had someone today look at your website who's blind and they did not have access to it. Develop an ADA compliant procedure. So what is the process to file a reasonable accommodation? You need to have that. Designate a person who is responsible for overseeing Title II of the ADA. Develop a transition plan if the self-evaluation identifies any structural issues. So back when the ADA passed, you were supposed to do a self-assessment to identify any barriers within your reasonable accommodation policies or any procedures, and also look at your facilities to mark any barriers. And then the transition plan would explain how you are going to rectify those barriers. And then public meetings are open to all information to request reasonable accommodations as listed on notices. The ADA does not just mean physical access, but it puts protections in place to accommodate all people with a variety of different disabilities that I'll discuss in a minute. We are disappointed because how you have neglected your responsibilities for nearly 28 years. Since the city neglected the deadline to accommodate people with disabilities, surely you're not surprised by a Department of Justice lawsuit. I wish DOJ enforced the laws more, because if they did, then we would not have as much discrimination as we see today. DOJ doesn't typically file a lawsuit unless it's clear violation of the law. I've seen some comments on social media where HUD cleared you all from any issues. And let me explain how that process works. The Fair Housing Act gives HUD the authority to receive, investigate, and reconcile any complaints of discrimination, including complaints that a local government has discriminated in exercising its use of zoning powers. HUD may not issue a charge of discrimination pertaining to the legality of any state, local zoning, or other land use law of ordinance. Rather, after investigating any local zoning issues, HUD refers matters to the Department of Justice, which if they feel that there's something that is there, any kind of discrimination was found. DOJ may bring it to a suit by exercising its authority, or if they see a practice of discrimination or denial of rights to a group of individuals. You all could have prevented the situation and got ahead of it if you complied with the ADA 28 years ago. Even if you are newer city council members up here today, it is still your responsibility. We're also disappointed by the comments we've seen about one of your citizens. No one on this council has the qualifications or authority to ever question somebody's disability. The definition of disability in the ADA and Fair Housing states individuals who have a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. And major life activities could be walking, talking, eating, sleeping, and it goes on. The law also protects individuals who have a record of such impairment, individuals who are regarded as having an impairment. The disability community is big. In South Carolina, 1 in 7 people have a disability. Disability under the ADA can mean medical conditions, physical, intellectual, psychiatric, vision, hearing, developmental, such as autism, etc. Not all disabilities are visible, and you cannot see all disabilities. And there is no certification that states that a person has a disability, and often people with disabilities are independent. So sometimes you don't even notice that they have a disability. And we're independent because we have laws to protect us and allows us to have accommodations. Disability is actually considered one of the largest minority groups in the United States, one that anyone can join at any time. They can join by being active military in combat. They can join by birth. They can get in an accident. They could get an illness such as cancer. That's how I acquired my disability. Anything and anybody can join this community at any time in our lives. And I always tell people, if you live long enough, you may join our community. And it's really not bad when our rights are protected. Reasonable accommodations are also very, very important to a person with a disability. Accommodations look differently per person, but they allow us to be independent. For example, one of your citizens requesting an accommodation She is needing a carport at her home so she can remain in her home that she's lived in for the past 18 years. So she can continue going to work every day, paying taxes, so she can prevent falls and leave and arrive to her home safely. Is that really so difficult? Just like many of you, you may not slip when it rains, but many of us do. You all must do a better job with recognizing conflicts between policies such as zoning ordinance and the Americans with Disabilities Act. You were required to already do an ADA self-assessment nearly 28 years ago. You missed it. Instead of denying a person and their rights for accommodations, why aren't you just looking at how you can make one of your citizens' lives better and how they can actively be a member of your community? The city of Irmo denied a woman her rights and have ridiculed her on social media and other outlets. And you have disregarded the federal law and completely disrespected the disability community. If you think that you only have one citizen in Irmo with a disability, you are absolutely wrong. According to the 2017 census, you have nearly 1,000 in your community. And I leave you with this, although I'm sure I'm not the person that you're really wanting to hear from tonight. I do want to leave you with this. Our organization can help you get it right. It is best practice to consult with people with disabilities before you make any policies about us or for us, but you also have to make sure that you include us in everything that you do. Irmo can be better, and I'm just asking you to please be better for your citizens with disabilities, all your citizens, because when you accommodate a person with a disability, you help not only that person, but the community in the whole. So thank you so much for giving me this time.
Thank you. And any other consideration of communications?
Thank you very much, Ms.
I'd like to say something.
Any other consideration of communications?
Thank you.
From us.
Yeah. I want to mention, too, there's a magazine called the South Carolina Biz.
If somebody else wants to make a comment.
They'll have to wait. This is for presentation of considerations or whatever.
All right.
And a company in town, A3 Communication, which is over here on Kinley Road, was in the top 20. Just wanted y'all to know that they have been in that top 20 as fastest growing. I think they're in the large, and that's a volume, dollar amount, but they're one of the top 20 fastest growing companies in South Carolina, and just thought we would give them a shout out since they're a local business. Also wanted to mention and give a shout out to Dutch Fork High School, who has won their 5A playoff, is going to the state championship. Clemson, who is an in-state school, has won their ACC and is going to the playoffs. And I guess I'll have to mention, they're not in-state, but they did win the SEC, and they'll be going to the playoffs too. What's their name, Roll Tide or Alabama or something? Yeah. But, you know, kudos to Dutch Fork High School. This is like the third time in 5 years.
They've done well.
Done very well. Done very well.
Coached excellent.
Any other consideration of communications? And next is presentation by citizens. This where anyone who wants to address council on anything that's on the agenda tonight may do so. All you need to do is give us your name and address for the record. And I think what's wrong with this thing, Bob, is when I have it in my coat pocket.
Yep.
I don't know if that's interfering with the signal, but I guess that's what it is. So I'll just have to remember that.
I'd like to say a few short words about animal control in our city.
Which item on the agenda?
I'm a citizen of this town.
Yeah,
what I
this
have
is,
to say is important to me.
This is for presentation by citizens for agenda items. There's another one at the end of the meeting for anything.
Okay, then I apologize. I shall be back.
I'm sorry.
You're not going to get rid of me so easily.
Anyone who wants to address council on anything that's on the agenda? Seeing none. Next is unfinished business, third and final reading of 1833, which is the one with the pine straw thing. Is there a motion for third and final reading?
I so move.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
This is just because I didn't like the word pine straw. But also because there's research, there are articles that pine straw under some catalytic converters and some low cars can cause a fire. But you can use other material. You can even use pine straw. I just want the term removed. I know it's a small thing, but it means a lot to me.
And who seconded it, Julie?
I second it.
Oh.
I'm good.
Okay. Any other discussion? The only thing I want to add is I don't have a problem with taking it off. I just think whether it's off or if they're still allowed, and I don't know that I agree or believe that any more accidents are happened. But, you know, whichever way is fine. I'll probably vote against it just because I did last time, but.
I expect no less.
Yeah. We don't want to think we're all together up here, but any other discussion? All in favor then of third and final reading, do so with show of hand. All opposed?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Oh.
Not you.
Second reading of 1834.
Yep.
Yeah. Do we have the latest revisions in the packet or on the iPad? This one? Okay. Okay,
on the
because
screen.
when
It's
I
on
looked
there?
on the
Okay.
iPad, it said amended or something, and I thought, oh.
All right, we'll see. Yeah, there's the one that we deferred, which is the one that's on here, and then there's the one that has some stuff on there from Eric. So we'll need to make a motion if we're going to on second reading, and then if we want to amend it, then we can go to the other stuff and amend. So is there a motion for second reading?
So moved.
And a second?
Second?
And let's see, Councilman Walker, I'll let you go first.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Tissot, for giving us that education and disability, and I appreciated very much the information you shared with us. This ordinance has been updated by our town attorney and modified in all the appropriate places. I don't know if you can see it on the screen or not. Is it on there? All the modifications that he made? Yeah.
Yeah.
The I guess it's in red. Those are the things we're adding in there, and that's to be in compliant with what we are understanding what DOJ is asking us to be compliant with. And based on information Ms. Tissot just gave us, I'd really like for her to take a look at it, just to kind of make sure that we're in the right ballpark, and that's not an unreasonable request. If you council doesn't have a problem with it, I'll go ahead and vote that we accept the second reading of it, and then ask her to look at it and get back to us by third reading, and make sure that it's legible, it makes sense, based on what she told us and what we heard tonight. That's my 2 cents.
Do you want to amend, or do you want to let her go first? or-
Let us talk.
Okay.
I read the whole thing, and I'm just depending on you because there are a lot of legal things in here, but the overall gist of it I thought was very good.
Yeah, the changes that were in the red, I believe a good many of those were encompassed in the original, so they may be to some measure duplicative. I don't think it hurts anything for them to be duplicative.
Okay.
As long as they don't contradict. There were some material changes, and then there was one where I just kind of had to try to get the spirit in for the with regards to the record-keeping portion of the agreement. The agreement from the DOJ contemplated a 3-year sunset to record-keeping.
Yeah.
But that would be more along the lines. It also had a 3-year sunset for training and keeping records of employees and all that sort of stuff. So it was kind of a blanket 3-year sunset. I just put a 3-year record retention. That might be overkill in some circumstances, and it might be under in others. I mean, if you had a case go all the way to the Supreme Court, that could easily take 6 to 8 years to complete. So you may want to hold it for that whole time. So I wouldn't say it's hard and fast, but the 3 years was my effort at trying to make it comport with the DOJ's agreement. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's been any substantive changes from when you first saw it.
Okay.
Other than the fees, I mean, making clear that the fees and costs to request. I think that's pretty much the only true substantive change.
I thought the reference to oral and written, which there's both in here, except on appeal where it has to be written. But I thought that was good too.
Right, and I feel like that would have been encompassed in the section E, where it says if an individual needs assistance in making the request, the jurisdiction will aid. I didn't explicitly in the original spell out that would include potentially oral requests, but I mean it would contemplate. It is intentionally broad to encompass the broadest range of disabled persons as possible, and any needs that they may have to make that claim.
I understand.
So, let me ask something. The stuff that's in red, this is not replacing necessarily the sentence before, it's just an addition.
That's correct. I don't believe, don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty certain that I did not remove anything from the original. I simply added, and to be quite honest with you, most of the adding was cutting and pasting directly from the proposed settlement agreement. And that's why it kind of looks a little duplicative, is because my original probably covered a good deal of it, but I made 100% certain, especially when the DOJ was particular about the requirements.
I need to ask Bob a question. In all of the construction that's been done, and I think the only one we were involved in was the police department, because no one was here when this was built or whatever. Didn't we make all the parking places right?
Yeah, all the standards were met when the buildings were built, as far as ADA standards,
I mean, we had
for sidewalks and
architects,
parking.
Okay. Just asking. Go ahead.
And you had some comments on your thing, and I think number 4, if I'm reading the comment, it's kind of saying you don't think it's necessary, or what is that actually?
Right, so this is kind of where I was going at with the things being duplicative. So with 4, it says that the zoning administrator will provide a decision in writing within 30 calendar days of the town's receipt, and if denied, a detailed explanation of the basis of such denial shall be included with the written notification. I think that was handled in sections B and C, but I put that in there because the words detailed findings were in the DOJ's proposed settlement. And so in section B, it says that the reviewing authority will give a written decision on a request for accommodation within 30 days of the application. And it said that it would give And it would say, it just didn't spell out that it was going to go into the detail. And so that's why that sentence is included, to specifically spell out the measure of detail that was wanted from the DOJ.
So your recommendation is that we add all the stuff in red if we want to, or whatever.
Right, if that's what the town is inclined to do. I don't think that it changes any of the spirit of the original as we originally drafted it. It's just a little bit more particularized and just spells out things like we're not going to charge for it, you can make it orally, that sort of thing, in more detail.
But this is going to be our policy to handle requests.
This is going to be an ordinance. That's the other main difference between what we're doing here and what was requested through the proposed settlement agreement, which was that it would be by way of a policy as opposed to an ordinance. But yes, it will be law. It will be how you govern yourself.
So the answer is it's yes, this will be our policy and our ordinance.
Yes, it will be your ordinance, and you will, yes, and it would be the way that your ZBA would have to govern themselves. That's correct, which they already would be under these requirements.
So do you want to, or does anybody want to make a motion to add the red stuff, get it to second reading, and then defer it and let her look at it?
Yeah,
Or-
that's what I said. I said we can go ahead and get this
So you
second
want to make a
reading.
motion to amend it?
Yeah.
Somebody needs to.
Well, I make a motion, we take all the red stuff that he has highlighted, put it in one document, and, well, that's my motion to do that.
And is that second?
I'll second it.
All right, there's a motion to add everything that's in the red, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 things. Am I correct? Yeah. Any discussion? All in favor then of adding the things in red, do so with show of hands. All right, so that is part of that. Now,
We can go ahead and do second reading, and like I said, give it to, have her look at that, Ms. Tissot from Able look at it and make sure.
when do we meet again? December the 8th?
18th.
18th. But not deferring it, just giving it to her and letting her look at it and have it back.
Right, because she'll get back to us by the 18th. I hope she can. I'm not trying to manage her schedule, but I'm sure she'll look at it and tell us one way or the other if everything was dot the i's, cross the t's, type of thing.
Okay. All righty, so,
If not, I'll make us think about it at third reading and not,
okay.
okay?
So, we're back to 1834 as amended. Any discussion on that? All in favor then of 1834 as amended, second reading, do so with show of hands. All right. Next is a resolution 1807. And this is for the municipal judge. Is there a motion for approval of the resolution?
So move.
And a second.
I thought we were going to executive.
Well,
Hey,
we're going to go in executive session.
discuss it.
You'll have to have a second.
Okay, I second.
Okay.
All right, so,
Well, we have to vote on going in executive session. Let me just say this before we decide.
wait a minute, I just said, I
We just made a motion and a second for approval.
Right, so we're discussing it now, right?
Well, I just want to clear up some stuff because we had a bunch of stuff going back and forth today, and I think Bob can.
What do you mean a bunch of stuff going back and forth today?
Some of them, a lot of phone calls.
Well, I didn't get any phone calls.
Okay,
I
let
just
me-
seconded the ordinance, I want
All
to
right.
discuss it.
All right, well, we're going to discuss it. I just want to let Bob say something. Did you find out that Kim is not appointed? That she is hired?
He's not. Our ordinance does not require it. State law does require it.
Oh, okay. So as far as we're concerned, and I'll ask Eric to just make sure, since she's not an appointed, then we're not dual office holding. We're just appointing somebody that is hired.
That's correct, but that's what we need to clear up because state law contradicts town ordinance. Or I should say our ordinance contradicts state law. So we need to clear that up first.
Okay.
Okay.
So we need to
so
go in.
I just second this ordinance, and we're in discussion right now. You saying you got some back and forth that y'all had that I wasn't included on?
No.
I mean, so we're discussing it in public right now. This ordinance that you want to, this resolution. Are we not discussing it or not?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the problem?
Well, there's been a lot
I made
of.
a motion, and Ms. Condon seconded.
I'm going to answer. You
Okay.
asked what's the problem. Because we are appointing somebody to be a substitute municipal judge, state law says that no person can hold dual office. That's in the Constitution. The question is this a dual office? If we had appointed Kim to be our municipal clerk years ago, then we would be appointing her to a second position, which would be
In
possibly
violation.
constituting dual office.
But we haven't even decided that we want to make this appointment.
No, but we
And
can
that's what I'm discussing.
if we have. That's what I wanted to clarify and make sure that we all understand that, no, we haven't. But it sounds like Bob wants to share something, maybe, and Eric does too.
Share what? What is it you want to share with us you can't tell me?
You'll be in executive session. Let's don't argue about it. Let's just
I'm not arguing about it. If you have some back and forth, I want to know about it. I didn't have any conversation. I didn't get any emails about the back and forth.
Well,
So
I can't
if there was some
help that.
conversation back and forth behind my back, I want to know what
Nobody
is
said
it you
anything
want to talk
behind your
about.
back.
Mine were from citizens.
Yes.
Okay, well, you got an email from a citizen about this?
So, wait a minute. He's got the floor right now. Let's just keep it in order. So, Eric, do you want to add something?
So I was the one who got an email from Bob about it just to inquire into it, and I don't know if that was today or yesterday. It was yesterday. So I have not.
So Bob sent you email to inquire about the dual office?
Is there any problem with it? He's asked me if there's any problem with Kim acting as the clerk of court and as a substitute municipal judge. I just did a quick search through the AG's opinions. I did not do an exhaustive search. I know there was some mention that there was approval for this type of thing through the Supreme Court. I haven't seen that, so I don't know if that's true or not. My research just came up with one AG opinion that said you can't be the municipal clerk and be a judge at the same time.
We're not asking her to be a judge. She wants to be able to sign warrants and stuff, right? Are you saying she has to be a judge to do that?
That's what this is here. It says to appoint substitute municipal judge.
Well, then that's not what we're asking her to do. That's
Yeah,
not
it
what
is.
that's not what I'm willing to let her do. If she wants to be a judge, she can be a judge. If she doesn't, if she wants to be a clerk, she can be a clerk. But as far as signing warrants, that's what we got Judge Adams to do. That's her responsibility.
And again, this was the way the question was put to me, was judge, clerk. So this is the research I did. Can't be both, because the statute is pretty clear that there's going to be a judge and a clerk,
Okay,
and they're not the same person.
I understand.
That's the bulk of my research.
So the answer is we can't
And
do this.
The issue with there being a may in your ordinance is of no consequence because the state statute is, again, crystal clear. If
The one we went over months ago?
in my opinion,
The one that said we must appoint, and then the one that said we may appoint or
still
select, and then the
disagree.
one that said we may hire? That one's crystal clear.
the council of each municipality in this state may, by ordinance, you can, if you choose, by ordinance, establish a municipal court, which we're sitting in. So you have, which shall, which means you don't have any choice, you will, be a part of the unified judicial system of the state, and thus governed by the South Carolina Supreme Court. For the trial and determination of all cases within its jurisdiction, the ordinance shall, not may, shall, provide for the appointment of one or more full-time or part-time judges and the appointment of a clerk. We got that one that time?
So that one, I guess, says that only one place, the appointment of clerk. Now, it's my understanding, too, that Becky does have a letter from the South Carolina Supreme Court. Is that?
I just want to answer your questions if I can. With all due respect, I disagree with Mr. Hale once again. It's my understanding that Kim is, and I don't care if you do this or not, okay? It's totally left up to you. This is not something I ask for. It's something that she thinks she can be more efficient at her job. So it's totally left up to council. The difference is she is not an elected or an appointed clerk of court. She is an employee of the town of Irmo. Her job duties include doing the administrative work for the town. So she is not appointed as a clerk of court. It is dual office holding in the court administration's opinion, which is what I'm relying on. It's not my own opinion, that you cannot be a clerk of court like the clerk of court of Lexington County and a judge. What she's asking to do, and what Bob has discussed with her and all, it's my understanding that she is has to be appointed, if you decide to do this, as an administrative judge with the duties of handling clerical things for the court. She is not the clerk of court. You have to hire somebody or appoint somebody as your clerk of court. She's never been appointed by you as a clerk of court. She is an employee of the town. So that's the way I understand it. I was not familiar with this at all, so I did some research for the town, and there's also another position, and I don't even want to get into that because it's really not relevant. But what she wants to do is, if there's certain administrative documents, Ishmael orders, I don't even know what all, then she wants to be able to sign those and not have to find a judge to do it. I don't think she has a problem finding me when she needs me, but she can just sit at her desk and sign it. She would not have the authority to hold court and things like that. She would have the authority to issue bench warrants, arrest warrants, search warrants, things like that. She would have to go through the training that the court administration provides for judges. But that's the difference. The way the court administration and the Supreme Court has explained it to me is it would be dual office holding if she were your appointed clerk of court. But she is an employee of the town, and it's just her duties to come and do the work that the court needs her to do. So, any questions?
Well, one question I have is, since we never appointed her, according to what Eric is reading,
Appointed her what?
Clerk of court.
then
I thought she said she's not appointed clerk of court. She's an employee.
so
Is that not what
have
you just
we-
said, Judge?
Have we met?
That's my understanding. She's never been, she would have to be appointed by you, the council, as your clerk of court, or elected. Most clerk of courts are elected, but the town does have the right to appoint a clerk of court. And we can't have a clerk of court with judicial duties. Then that's dual office holding. I'm told by the South Carolina Court Administration, you can have a judge with clerical duties, which is what they're proposing. It's my understanding.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know, and I don't purport to say I know how you guys have structured your employment of anybody around here. I guess I was operating under the assumption she's your clerk of court for all of these years. So yeah, I mean, if she's just an employee, then she could be an employee and be appointed to that position. It's not dual appointment in that manner.
Right.
But to answer your next question, then yes, there's a question about whether you have to or not.
But
As far as
our
the
ordinance
clerk.
says may, you're saying that state law says shall.
Right.
But this,
That may be an issue for another day. It may not be something that directly affects this discussion, but again, like I said, if she's not your clerk, then no problem there. And if she is your clerk, there's no problem adding additional duties, just so long as you're not adding judge.
But what I understand from the Judge Adams is that being an employee, she cannot sign warrants without going through the judge process.
That's right.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So if we're gonna have a associate judge, then we just need to just go find an associate judge, or maybe make her an associate judge?
That's for y'all to decide. All I'm saying-
That's what we had before.
but this is.
Judge Adams was an associate judge, and then she got a promotion, if you will, and became our chief judge. So we don't have an associate judge anymore.
Well, at this juncture, I would imagine you're, sorry.
Oh, right, in the Lexington circuit, yes, ma'am, that's right.
And I would imagine your associate judge would not have a whole heck of a lot to do now that Judge Adams has assumed most of the required responsibilities of that judicial position.
Well, the thing is, Judge Adams was a resident right down the street, and we can get her like that to sign warrants if we needed to. And that was the beauty of her being that associate judge. But now she's the chief judge, and if she goes on vacation, we have two other judges in her circuit that we can also do that paperwork, but we have to find them in Lexington or wherever, Richland or Lexington, wherever they reside at, to do it. So my question is to the council, what are they asking? Why do we have this on our agenda to approve? I don't understand. Is this to be an associate judge, or just to have more duties as a clerk or an employee? I mean, why is this on our agenda? And it's open to council, I don't know.
I think it's on the agenda because Bob put it on there, I believe, or
Well,
staff or whatever.
Staff,
So,
yeah. Okay, staff, Bob, question to you then. Why is this on our agenda?
Because the court administration required it to be done by counsel for her to be able to have the ability to do administrative duties.
To sign warrants and stuff like that? But we don't want her to sign warrants. We want her to,
Well, that's what this is for.
What y'all need to decide.
okay.
Yeah.
It's basically a personnel issue. That's why some of us wanted to go into executive session.
For what?
It's a personnel issue.
No, it isn't. It's the lady who wants more responsibility.
She's one of our personnel.
Okay, but, all right. We can go into executive session and do what? Discuss what we just discussed out here in public? I mean,
Well, I have a question, Eric. Now, what this says on here is to appoint substitute municipal judge. Is there some kind of legal difference between a substitute municipal judge and an associate municipal judge? Is that?
That's your staff's wording.
Okay, okay. So if we agree to this, then what we are doing, if I'm following correctly, is we are allowing our municipal clerk, who is hired,
or employee, municipal employee.
but is doing the duties of a municipal clerk, to be a substitute municipal judge to sign warrants and those issues and stuff like that. And you're saying that we may not be able to do that because we may not even have appointed her when we should have. And
What I said was, and again, I don't purport to know all of the ins and outs of people's hiring status in the town. If she was your appointed clerk of court, then you could not appoint her as a
Right.
judge. And I believe that was what the
we
judge
never
just said
have,
as well.
as far as their records, have appointed her. So let's just say she's not appointed.
That's correct. And she's not your clerk of court, she's an employee.
Oh, okay. But have we broke a law by not appointing a clerk of court since we're supposed to have one?
You may not be complying with the spirit of the law, in so much as, again, that ordinance contemplates that the ordinance shall provide for the appointment of one or more full part-time judges and the appointment of a clerk.
Okay. We can do one or two things. We can vote for it, vote it down. We can defer it and ask Bob and Eric and Judge Adams and everybody to look at it a little bit more and then decide and then bring it back to us if it's, or if y'all want to vote for it or vote it down, you can do so too.
I want to understand why it's even on here.
Didn't I ask that question?
I'm trying to understand why it's even on here.
Because there's things that need to be done. And
Are we having a problem now getting warrants signed?
This really has nothing to do with the warrants. Warrants is just a part of this. This is about Ishmael orders and all kinds of other orders that we are signing all day long due to the new computerized system that we have. Everything is done by computer, so it's not like there's a piece of paper to run around and do. It's the ability to sit on the computer and say, yes, I signed this, having the authority, and get things to work faster, get people out of jail that need to be taken out of jail without going to find the judge to do all that. A lot of it is administrative. I mean, No, I mean, not to my knowledge either. It's just, it would streamline the work that Kim and the clerk of court does right now. It would make it more efficient.
And no further cost to the town?
No, there's no cost to this. A lot of towns do it. We're just one that doesn't.
Yeah, I think it's more of just a matter of making it more efficient to sign stuff and get it sent through instead of waiting.
I mean, this resolution was written by the Supreme Court. I mean, it was a court administration. They were, that is the court of the Supreme Court. Correct.
Yeah, if we're going to do it, we can't do it without them getting something from us saying we made a resolution to do it, or they won't. So before they will allow her to go to training and all that stuff, they want something from us voted on and approved. So we'd either have to approve it or not. And the class, from my understanding, didn't you say it was March?
February, March.
So we'd still have time at our next meeting if we wanted to do it and get more stuff, information. If that's what council wants to do, or if they want to vote it down, they can, do that too. But
Well, it's not a matter of voting it down. It's just, look, if she wants to be an associate judge, I don't have a problem with that. We'll appoint her an associate judge if that's what the council wants to do. But I don't want to half do it. I don't want to just say, okay, we're going to send her to school to be associate judge, and then if we got an opening for an associate judge, we need to go ahead and apply for one. Put it out there, advertise for one, and get one.
Well,
if that's what we got.
And the problem is not that she wants to be an associate judge, is that if we want her to sign that paperwork,
right,
she has to
be an associate judge.
Title. And
okay, so if we have an opening, if we have a need for an associate judge, let's go ahead and put an RFP out there, or put a request out there, say we're looking for an associate judge. And if she wants to do it, then
No. Wait. Well, that would be a cost to the town.
Yeah, and it would be waiting on somebody else to come in and do all that stuff. That wouldn't be more efficient. That'd be.
We had an associate judge before.
I understand, at a cost to the town.
Right.
We eliminate that cost.
Sorta, yeah.
We certainly made it less expensive for our courts. We did. That was the whole purpose. So if we do this, there's no cost to the town, and there's better flow of paperwork. Quicker flow.
But my concern is we have a person doing judge work, if you will. signing warrants that could potentially get us in trouble if a warrant is signed incorrectly.
Are you concerned that we're going to get in trouble?
I'm concerned that this person is an employee that has the ability to sign a warrant.
Well, but this person would only get that approval by taking this course. Only after passing the course would that happen.
Hey, well, like I said, if we have an opening for an associate judge, let's go ahead and put our opening out there.
Well, I don't know that
We
we need
need
an
an
associate judge to come in, because that'd be the same as, even if we have an
What we had
associate
before.
judge, we'd have to wait on them to come into the office, sign everything, and then leave, and they're gonna charge us for it. This is a matter of, and the way I see it is, if I work at FM Manufacturing, and my job is to do X, Y, Z, and every time I get X amount of stuff on my desk, I have to call my boss and have them come in and sign all this before I type it in. This just is passing that authority to that person to go ahead and do those things. Yes, they would have the ability also to sign warrants and do stuff like that, but at the same time, that's why the Supreme Court says we will allow you to do that if you go to our training and you meet our standard and you pass our muster. If she were to not pass the test or not finish the training, and they determine, oh, you're not, then they wouldn't allow it. If she passes the test, then she meets every bit of the criteria that the state requires, and the Supreme Court administration, whoever requires. So if she can pass all that, then in my opinion, she's met their guidelines and their standards. That would be fine. I don't know, but I'm only going to guess, if we had a problem with the individual signing a search warrant or something like that, we could limit that part, maybe, I don't know.
Well, you got
saying no? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, you got to remember, she's not going to be an associate judge. She's going to be a substitute municipal judge. She's going to be an administrative judge. She's not going to be sitting on a bench. She's not going to be binding anybody out of court. And she's only going to be signing warrants, whether it be search or arrest warrants, in the absence of another judge readily available.
Right.
So Judge Adams would have to be on vacation. Judge Buck would have to be out of state for her to even get to that level. That's an emergency thing for the warrants.
Most of it would be the other stuff.
Correct.
Look, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with her doing that. I think that Ms. Hoffman has got the ability, working with us as long as she has, to do any of this stuff. My only concern is if she signs a search warrant to my house and I don't like it or it's illegal, that's opening up the town for all kinds of problems.
But no more than it would be if it was signed by the judge, Becky Adams.
I think Becky Adams got the experience and the talent to know if signing a search warrant for my house particularly, that
Maybe we
she
ought
better
to
be
defer
straight.
this.
If somebody wants to make a motion
I'm
to
gonna
defer
make a motion to defer.
to the next meeting,
Yeah?
I just need some more background on it. I don't understand.
where are we at? And
Second.
December, what was it, 18th? And second.
Right? 18th?
Yeah.
And in that meantime, Bob, what information do y'all want from Bob, or Eric, or Becky, or who?
Just send me an email. I'll give the email to you in public.
What information, Kathy?
Yes, by
I mean,
email's fine.
what information?
I'm not sure.
Can we
Why
get
are we
Eric to
doing
get
this?
an opinion from the court? The court that approved this or
I think
suggested
Becky's got a
this.
letter from them.
And let Bob draft it and send it to everybody so we can all see it at the same time?
You talking about the letter from?
The letter that Judge Adams has right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we got the opinion on both situations as to whether this is conflicting with the state mandate, shall, will.
I think that's good, because this may be fine, but this is new to us.
Who do you want this opinion from? Court admin?
Whoever issued that this would be approved and she has to approve their training.
That comes from the court administration, but the difference is the court administration is the training, and they basically, there's an order or something on it, because I don't know, I don't have any letter from anybody. I just exchanged some emails, which I have
Okay.
from the attorney at the court administration. But what they say is, in order for any town to do this, the town has to adopt an ordinance or whatever to do it.
Resolution.
So that's what the court administration would say, that you just can't do it. That if you decide to do it, you send in an ordinance, then they'll put her in the training and do that, but they need that from the town before they
Okay.
do that. I don't think the court administration cares one way or the other whether
Right.
you do it, but it's just, that's
So,
just what
Eric,
I think the problem is since how long ago, I don't remember how long ago you were hired. It's way back, what, John Gibbons was mayor? No. Not that it's just been a while. Okay.
Okay. But I think even the previous judge was the same, because,
But I mean, she was hired
Right.
as an employee, not
appointed.
appointed
Right.
in her position. And that's the rub right there, is the state law is saying shall, will, appoint, or hire, whatever.
And Eric, you
Just
can
want
get
to
with
cut
the
through all the,
court administration.
which one's going the right way.
You can get with the court administration and verify. Is that what?
I'm not sure that's exactly right. I'm not sure that's exactly a thing that court admin does. I mean, I can probably get their attorney to pass some judgment as to his judgment call as to the way it goes. But the way I understand court admin, and again, Judge Adams would know this way better than I would because she deals with them much more often than I do. Court admin is kind of like the back office for our judicial system. They don't render opinions.
Right.
They may issue directives, and those directives may come out of the directives of the Supreme Court because they are an office from the Supreme Court. But it's not like the AG's office where I can send a letter and hopefully the
Right.
AG will turn around and issue me an opinion and say this is how I feel about this, that, or the other thing. And even the AG's office is non-binding, and the AG has been wrong before.
Oh, yeah.
And the Supreme Court has said the AG was wrong. So, and again, I don't disagree with anything that Judge Adams said. I had assumed that she was appointed, so I don't doubt that that somebody who's not the clerk can be appointed to that spot.
Will 2 weeks make any difference for her getting the training or anything?
No, training's not until March.
Okay.
And like I said, we've never appointed a clerk for the town. Went back 20 years to check on the records. It's never been appointed. But again, we could be in violation of state law. If it says you shall appoint, you simply, whoever wrote our ordinance way back when, you said nay. But really.
Okay, I think 2 weeks would be good.
Well, and the other state law that says after every election, you shall appoint your town judge, your town attorney, and your town clerk. It doesn't mention anything else about the other, so.
That's probably why it was done that way.
And I had a conversation with attorneys down at the state legislature about the other issue. And they kind of like, what do you want us to do about it? And I'm like, change it. And they're like, we got 140 some people down here. You think that's going to happen? I don't know. Put it on the see. But they said no. So they're going to leave it like it is. I guess just, if you will, check with the court administrator, find out what they're, and then you can double check with yourself, whoever else, as to whether we need to appoint a municipal clerk or not.
I'll probably discuss with Judge Adams, since she's probably been the one who's put the most time and effort into seeing a different side to it than I have. Like I said, I've had like a whopping day to look at this
Okay.
without all the facts. So
All right, so there's a motion on the table to defer this until December the 18th, and then Eric's going to get us some more information, and Bob and everybody else, and we'll discuss it then. All in favor of that deferral, do so with show of hands. Next, and this one has a change to it too. We have on the agenda the approval of a contract with Cummins Station, Edward McCain Band, and actually the name is not Cummins Station, it's United Talent Agency. I think when Larry had sent that over, he had got that incorrect. So, is there a motion to approve a contract with United Talent Agency for the Edwin McCain Band 2019 orchestra in the amount of $21,600?
So moved.
Second. Anybody want a second? I'll second. And this is John. You want to explain anything? Y'all have any questions? I think he sent this out so that everybody would have time to look at it. From my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the band is for $20,000, and then the $1,600 is no more than for the hotel rooms and the
Correct.
food and that
Yeah,
kind
the
of
riders that the band requested.
Yeah.
Is this pretty standard?
It
It looks
is.
that way to me, but,
It is very standard.
okay.
And we have X'd out a lot of the riders that they requested that we deemed unreasonable and got them down to the bare minimum.
Okay.
So this is the money we have from the orchestra this year left over that will pay for this?
Correct. So we have a $10,000 leftover entertainment expense from this year, and then we'll be using $10,000 from next year's budget.
It's a band I've heard of, so I
Oh, you
appreciate
have?
that. Edwin McCain, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a couple hits out there. He's got a.
I don't know nothing when it comes to music.
This isn't country music.
I said, I don't know nothing when it comes to music.
Oh, okay.
Now, I might have heard them when they come on and hear something, but I don't.
They're fairly famous.
Well, good.
Yeah, we're very encouraged that this will help our Saturday night crowd
Okay.
be bigger than our last 2 years.
So this
Okay.
is for Saturday.
This will be
Okay.
for Saturday night, correct?
And y'all are going to pay like half now or something like that?
Correct. They're requesting a deposit of $10,000 now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Any more questions?
So wait a minute, we got to give you 10 or 20?
So we're requesting a deposit of 10 now.
You guys
Then-
got that,
And then right, we currently have that.
right?
And then the other 10 would be through next year's budget. We don't, because we haven't actually gotten approval from council for next year's budget yet, we don't want
Right.
to spend money we don't have yet.
And
So
they
we're
have-
asking for pre-approval just for the entertainment
And
portion.
anything over, is it 3,500 or something like that? Anything over five, they have to.
Oh, they'll come to us?
Yeah.
Correct. We're still working on next year's budget.
I got you.
But the sky's the limit, I understand.
As long as it's like no higher than this roof here. Any more questions, comments? All in favor then of that approval for $21,600, do so with show of hands. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we had
And-
4 votes in the back here.
Oh. And next is the approval of our 2019 council meeting schedule. Is that thing on? Is there a motion for approval of that
So moved so we can discuss.
and a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, the only one I have a problem with is July the 2nd. July the 4th is on a Thursday, and I don't know whether this would interfere. We normally take off that week, or we normally don't have a meeting that week. I checked all the other dates. April 16th does not conflict with Easter.
Hey, that's close to my birthday.
Well, we're not taking off for your birthday. My birthday's the 4th. We're taking off for that. But April 21st is Easter, so the 16th doesn't really conflict.
So your birthday is July the 4th,
Yeah?
and that's why you want this off?
Well, no, but most people, no, you don't have to know. Most people go somewhere that week or make plans for the 4th. That's the only one I thought we might have a conflict. But even Thanksgiving is November 28th, so the 19th does not interfere. I didn't find
So
any.
you want to take off July the 2nd?
If y'all think, I think we usually do. So I'm leaving it up to y'all.
So is there a motion to
Yeah.
change that?
Where I'm amending that.
Amend it.
I really wanted to get y'all's feeling on it because,
Well, I don't know. I think you ought to stay.
oh, well, it's fine with me because if I were going somewhere, it would probably be the end
You're
of
making a motion to amend it.
okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, he's second.
And
Take the second off,
July 2nd.
to cancel the second meeting.
Is it the 2-day rule?
Yeah,
Well, my birthday's the 17th, so let's take February 19th out. No,
the 17th of when?
I'm just teasing.
Oh,
Any other dates?
I didn't see any other.
August 6th, we take that date, that's the National Night Out. And it was a conflict this year, and I didn't want to be another conflict next year.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Let's see. Let's
Well, rather than lose the meeting, change the
let's
date.
vote on that first one and get that out of the way.
July 2nd.
Yeah, all in favor of removing that one, July 2nd, do so with show of hands. And Barry wants to amend and remove, what it was, August 6th? Is there a second?
I second it, because we need to be with the police department.
Yeah.
Because we enjoyed
That's
that.
the
That was
national
good.
night out. Any discussion?
No?
All in favor then of removing August the 6th, do so with show of hands. So that one's off. Any others?
All right, so that's one meeting in July, one meeting in August.
Yeah. And the law requires us to meet at least once a month, so as long as we're meeting the other ones. One meeting in September too. Right, yeah. That's what, Labor Day? Yeah. Okay. Any more
When is-
discussion?
Wait, when is Labor Day?
Labor is the 2nd, I
The
believe.
second.
Yeah.
So we'll be not meeting on the 3rd. That says no meeting. Got that?
Yeah.
All righty. All in favor of the,
When did the election is November 3rd, November 5th? When does the potentially new council gets installed?
12?
The 3rd. Yeah, the 3rd.
12/3?
Yeah, 3rd.
Yep,
That's the
12/3.
tree lighting also.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
we did it
that's-
like that a couple
We
years.
did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All righty. All in favor then of the 2019 meeting schedule as amended with July the 4th and August the 6th coming off of it, do so with show of hands. Next is the appointment to the Planning Commission. Any motions?
I make a motion, we nominate Mr. Waddington.
I'll second that.
Wadling, how do you say it? Wadlington?
Wadling.
Waddington.
Wadlington, okay.
Point of order.
Why?
What's your,
I think we needed to advertise this opening. The poor fellow who passed away on the planning commission just did pass away last week. He's not even had the funeral yet. I understand we have a need to replace him on the planning commission, but I also think that the citizens needed to be aware that there was an opening available on the planning.
that's a discussion. What is, I'm gonna ask for your point
My
of
point
order.
of order is we need to not to have this
That's not a
appointment
point.
tonight,
That's not a point of order.
that we haven't followed procedures.
Point of order is that something is out of order, so that's not a point.
Yeah, we're taking a vote out of order. We're taking,
No,
it's
it's
out of
not.
order to take this vote tonight. Because we haven't advertised.
That can be held during discussion. I'm gonna ask everybody. Right now, there's a motion by Kathy and seconded by Mark to nominate Edwards. or
We didn't
Edward Wadlington.
Wadlington.
We didn't have it on the planet. We didn't have his name on the agenda.
Right now, Kathy gets to speak, and then Mark, and then if you want to go next, you can. And you can make your point there. Go ahead.
This gentleman filled out one of the applications on the town website, and I think he did it a while ago, but I met him during the election. He was, during the last election, he was very interested in town workings and how we operated. I thought he was intelligent, forthright, and he's been in town a long time, 31 years. And he has good experience, so I think he'd be good for the Planning Commission.
I also agree. Ed's a great guy.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? You want to go next?
Yeah, we didn't have his name on the agenda as being appointed to the Planning Commission, so these are open nominations tonight. If that's the case, if that's the case, you had 2 people that were in the packet, I believe.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
you actually had 3 people who expressed an interest to be on the Planning Commission. I believe Ms. Clarkson had requested to be on one of the commissions. Clint Scoville was asked to be on the Planning Commission, but there wasn't an opening at the time. There's only one opening. All these people need to be considered also. So my question back to the council is, don't you think it makes more sense to advertise that there is an opening and see anybody who wants to submit their applications or into the talent pool in order to be considered for these open positions? And there's no rush to appoint somebody. I mean, the poor fellow who passed away hasn't even been buried yet. So, I mean,
Since
that's
you
where I'm at.
asked an open question, I'll jump on that and answer it.
And I don't have a problem with Mr. Wadlington. I support him to be on the Planning Commission. I just want to make sure that all the citizens had an opportunity to apply for open positions or knew that there was an opening to apply for. And we didn't do that process.
Many years ago, we had a council decision, discussion, debate, the whole shebang, and we decided to do that talent pool in order for citizens to respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and put their name in the hat for anything they wanted to put their name in the hat.
And this application was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Let me finish.
When did he submit this application?
Hey.
When did he submit that application?
I'm going to finish speaking. You can hold your questions to the end. We're going to keep this in order.
It is in order. I'm asking when was that application submitted?
You don't have the floor. You're out of order. So let's just go back to where we are. Right now, Bob pulled up out of the talent pool 2 names.
From 2 years ago.
Doesn't matter when they were in there. I don't care when they were in there. They were in our talent pool.
Is the guy still
They
alive?
in there. Councilman Walker.
I
Can
mean,
you allow
2 years
somebody
ago.
else to speak? We don't interrupt you.
All right.
I'm going to ask.
Anybody else says any other word, you're gonna be asked to leave, okay? Let's let council do the thing and get out of here. Y'all agree?
So, what we've decided years ago is to have this talent pool where people put their names in there so that we don't have to spend money in advertise. We used to spend money in advertise and nobody ever put their name in. So this has created a place for people to put their names in. As far as the making of nominations, right now we have one on the table. If you want to make a motion to amend and add another name, you can do so. We can consider that name. Right now we have one. And, you know, it's going to be the same argument as it always has or always was from the last time. When a nomination is made, even if there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them, when the position gets filled, the position is filled. That's, you know. So, any more discussion about this name, or if you've already gone, so if you want to go and then we can go back around and make another thing.
Well, one thing, Dad, he is a businessman in the town of Irmo.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And 31 years in New Friars Gate on Royal Tower.
What was the date of that application?
I don't know if they have a date.
It's right on this receipt. When was it received?
The date is, he was
2017.
January 20th, 2017, as was the second applicant.
Well, it was February the 18th, I think, when it
It's
came
stamped
in.
on here.
2017.
No, this man was February 2018.
Yeah.
I'm
Dave.
saying that one was January 2017.
Yeah.
Okay. And Bob, we have any other applications out there on the talent pool?
Yes, sir, we do, but not for the planning commission.
Okay, well, I mean, my understanding is there's people that have expressed interest to be on other committees, commissions.
Well,
They may not have specifically said the planning commission, but they did submit a talent pool application to you to be on a committee.
I have them for ZBA, I have them for Orchestra Commission, but these were the only two names, and I confirmed they both still wanted to be on it, that were in your packet, that wanted to be on the planning commission.
Okay. All right.
Any more discussion?
I mean, we did say that we were gonna do this.
Mhm.
And in fact, I believe.
Do what? Do what?
Use this talent book. And in fact, the name of the talent.
That's fine.
The name of the talent book was developed by you.
No, it wasn't developed. It was developed by Hardy. But let me say,
I
the
had
talent book.
Oh, you had telephone book, and that's what's
Okay,
on the
so my
thing.
point is this: we have other people who submitted applications to be in a talent pool, and you're not considering those people with more current applications. That's all I'm saying is you need to let people know that there's an opening now, and this opening just happened last week, I believe. The poor fellow passed away last week. It seems to me the council would have made an announcement or on our website and say, hey, there's an opening on the planning commission. Anybody who's interested can submit their name through the talent pool to put their application, or the people that have already submitted it in the past can update their applications to show us that they're still interested. None of those two processes happen.
Those were not part of the decision back whenever this was
That's
done.
my point. It should be.
Well, you should
Any
have made
person.
it 2 years ago.
Part of that decision.
Yeah,
No,
2 years ago you were.
We're part of that decision.
How was I part of that decision?
You even named this book.
That means I was a part of the decision to saying how we should operate that?
Yes.
Okay.
We voted here.
It was voted on by council.
Okay. And how did I vote?
I don't know, you can go back and check, but
Well,
it was approved
okay.
by council.
Yeah, the majority of council, you three.
Right, doesn't mean, we don't know. Anyway, any more discussion? All in favor then of that appointment, which was for,
Well, I have another appointment to make.
so you want to make an amendment?
I'd like to make an amendment and appoint somebody else.
And
I'd like to appoint Hunter Hilly to the Planning Commission.
Say the name again.
Hunter Hilly.
Okay, got it.
so there's an amendment to add Hunter Hilly. Is there a second?
You don't need a second for a nomination.
Well, if you want to go and read the Robert's Rules, once we get into voting on anything, yes, we do. Actually,
Here we
do.
go.
So
I need to have a second to make a nomination.
Kathy and Mark motioned and seconded
Okay.
the first
It
nomination.
wasn't necessary, that's my point.
Well, actually it is, because we're making a motion, we're voting on stuff. Now,
We're
I would
nominating
suggest,
people.
if you want to read it.
We're nominating people.
There's about 6 different ways of doing this.
We're making a nomination for a commission, but you go ahead and run it, that's fine.
Anyway, any more discussion? And that one died for lack of second. All in favor then of Ed Wadlington?
Well, wait a minute. That didn't get a second, so that means it died, my nomination.
Right.
So I'd like to nominate Brandy Clarkson.
And is there a second? All right, that dies for lack of second.
I'd like to nominate Jada Pink. Hey, Jada Powell, sorry.
No, wait a minute. Go back to Brandy.
It just died in a second.
No, wait a minute. Because I was thinking, and at my age, it takes a minute.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
She did apply.
Yes, she did.
But I think
Yes,
it was for all commit, or it was as I recall, it was for all commissions. So it would not come up if you put in planning commission, I don't think. I could be wrong about.
Yeah, I mean, I got, Brandy's application, I have it, and it was for the ZBA. That was the only one she put on there, ZBA.
Can we go back and let?
So you want me to renominate Brandy again?
Well, I'm trying to do this right, but my mind's not working as fast as your mouth.
Oh. Hey, that's quite possible.
I'm just
saying. It is quite possible. I believe you might be right.
So I'll second Brandy.
Okay, so I renominate Brandy Clarkson and Ms. Condon seconded.
Any
now
discussion?
We have 2 people to vote on.
Any discussion? All in favor then of the first one was for Edward Waddlington. Do so show of hands. All opposed? All right. And since they got a majority vote, then Waddlington is on the Planning Commission. Next is presentation by citizens, and I think Ms. Witt was the first one that wanted to speak a while ago, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm going to disappoint you that I'm not going to speak on what I really should be speaking on, but I will do my speaking when the time comes. I just know that what I'm going to tell you folks, you're just going to laugh about it and probably say, whackity, whackity, wah, wah, quack, quack, quack. I don't care. But let me tell you, citizens have a right. No, I not only cannot be safe and have peace in my home, I cannot even go out on a Saturday afternoon and walk my beautiful cattle dog on my grandmother hover-round that I have. And I know you're probably all laughing. Oh, she's a crazy Looney Tune. But no, I'm not. Because we have got animals out there running loose. And I do thank Bob, and I do thank Mr. Walker. But I do want to tell you folks that I am awfully ashamed of the ZBA, Mr. Glassmeyer, and this council. And I am doubly sorry to say that I live in Irmo. And I never thought I would say that because I'm a Christian person. But I have had it up to here. And now I can't even go out and walk my beautiful cattle dog on my hover-round without a vicious pit bull running loose that outweighed my dog by 28 pounds, came up on us, had no idea he was going to attack me. I got marks on the back of my leg. He grabbed onto Toby's neck, pierced all of his neck and his ears. I don't know if he's going to be hard of hearing yet. Bob knows about it. Brandy knows about it. Her daughter's a vet-tech. They came over. Here he is with this cast on that he had to have for 2 weeks. This cost me $600, which probably you guys say, well, that's good because you're probably a mean person anyway, so good that that happened to you. But I'm going to tell you something. I am going to protect my property, my home, my animal at all costs, and that is not a threat. Citizens have a right to be safe on a Saturday afternoon out walking your dog. And I'm not talking about like when Brandy's 2 little dogs got out, little chihuahuas and stuff. I'm talking about vicious dogs that have had a record of being picked up before. My dog was within 1 minute of being killed if a good Samaritan had not stopped on Shadford Road and put his body over that pit bull. My dog, I thought, as you can see here, had a broken leg, slipped out of his collar, laid down, was bleeding profusely. He wouldn't get with me on the scooter to go home. We were 2 blocks from my house when this happened. But I'm saying we've got to do better. We've got to do better with enforcement. These kind of things might not be a big issue to you guys, but it is to me because my dog is my family. And being in my home for 18 years, Mr. Hardy, I want you to listen to me. This is the 4th time my dogs have gotten attacked, and I don't think it's fair. And you can say yada yada, quacky quack, whatever you want, but I got my say in, so there.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Jack Buck. I am the Executive Director of Keep the Midlands Beautiful. And I wanted to come tonight to just have a discussion with you to set a few things straight. I think there's been a little bit of miscommunication. I want to thank Councilman Walker and his lovely wife, Susan, for attending the gala last week. It was nice to see them there. I wanted to let you know that the event that was held in Irmo recently, we had 907 cars. There was 27.56 tons of household hazardous waste collected. There was 3.18 tons of metal collected. There was 16.8 tons of e-waste collected, and 15,820 pounds of paper shredded that Keep the Midlands Beautiful paid for. We did not pay for the household hazardous waste that was a partner of ours from Lexington County, because as you remember, almost 7 years ago, when we started at Crossroads, it was just myself, and we had electronics and paper. And recycling was a lot larger commodity then, and people were paying for recycling. Now it's become a little bit more challenging for recycling, and Keep the Midlands Beautiful brings in the partners so that we can continue to have these events. We partner with Lexington and Richland County. Richland County paid for the e-waste and the metal, and Lexington County paid for the household hazardous waste. Keep the Midlands Beautiful paid for the paper shredding at the event, and also we did the majority of the advertising and getting the word out about the event. So much so that over 100 cars were turned away, unfortunately. Now, this is the only event in those 7 years that I haven't attended myself because my family was here visiting from Australia. So, unfortunately, there was some miscommunication, and there were some issues with a town vehicle. I know that all the shredding was taken from the town vehicle, but the electronics and paint was not. Unfortunately, there was no communication from the town with me beforehand or after. I did not hear from any of the council members or any of the staff to let me know that there was an issue. I just heard afterwards when I approached y'all to come to the gala that you weren't happy with what Keep the Midlands Beautiful was doing in the town, which was really disappointing because since I've been the executive director, I've never said no to anything that you've requested of me. This year we've done a couple of cleanups now on Irmo Drive. Whenever you've all wanted vests or anything, I've always been the yes lady, whatever we can do to help. So I just would like to use this opportunity to say if you have an issue, if you have a problem, please reach out to me via email or pick up the phone and call me. You all know me. Going forward, I would just prefer a better communication line and know that I am trying my best to continue the good works that Keep the Midlands Beautiful is doing, in Irmo, and we have a great partnership with Irmo as well as our county partners, and that also includes Lexington County Stormwater Consortium, Richland County Stormwater Consortium. We are partnered across the whole of the Midlands with many. We are also doing so much with the Saluda Shoals District, which enters into Irmo, and we have planted a lot of trees coming into the district, so that we are doing a huge revitalization project with the Arbor Day, National Arbor Day, not your local Arbor Day, down at Shaw. There's a lot going on. So I just want to keep the relationship going as it has been and going forward, if you have any questions. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the fact that we have had a relationship with Keep the Midlands Beautiful, and I hope that we don't, whatever the situation was that he's referring to, which I had no idea about, that we can not burn bridges with this organization and ruin our relationship. We certainly need partners across the board in all areas, and I think that one of the ways that we can foster these relationships is by attending these events that they put on and actually communicating with them if there is a problem or if there was a potential problem, which again I didn't know anything about, and this is what I'm just hearing about for the first time.
You were on the email.
What was that? With the problem?
No, it was not a big deal, but it was a town employee who was turned away, and we didn't understand why. And I'm glad Jack's here to explain it. Mm-hmm. I think the young man was, I don't know, but anyway, everything's fine now.
And as far as supporting them, Mr. Pouliot and I spent one Saturday going up and down Irmo Drive, picking up garbage.
You did?
We did.
But that's neither here nor there.
That's not the point.
I mean, no,
this is first.
There was just a scheduling problem with going with the gala. I'll speak for me. I had a business that I had to attend to, and I believe that was the problem with the entire council. We appreciate
wasn't a problem with me.
What you do. We appreciate what you do, and believe me, we've attended plenty in the past, and we've enjoyed them. And again, we enjoy and appreciate what your organization does for this entire community. Thank you, Jack.
Mr. Mayor, good evening. George Glassmer, 100 Denbeck Road. I want to address three different issues.
Is your microphone on?
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. George Glassmer, 100 Denbeck Road. I want to address three issues. The first one is the appointment of the Planning Commission that council just completed. It seems like every time there's an appointment to the Planning Commission, the Orchestra, or the ZBA, Mr. Walker seems to have a problem with the protocol on this. I was at the meeting. I think I've attended more council meetings, I would dare say, than anyone in this town, because I've been coming here for 31 years. And I was at the meeting when Mr. Walker himself made the proposal to establish the talent book on the town website to enable interested parties to apply for these positions. It was at his initiative. I clearly remember that. And I would suggest, Mr. Walker, if you have candidates that you know of that are interested in these positions, tell them to apply now. Tomorrow morning, apply for each and every position that each and every person is interested in. Get them in the talent book so we don't have to keep having this discussion again and again. I just don't think you'll take yes for an answer, and I don't know what'll make you happy, because it's the goalpost seems to shift with you every time this issue comes up. The second thing I want to discuss is I heard Ms. Witt's concerns here earlier about her dog being injured. I'm quite the animal lover. Indeed, I'm actively involved in animal and dog rescue, and I've had dogs injured, so I'm very sensitive to what happened to her dog, and I'm very sorry to hear about that. That said, she began her discussion with criticism of the council and me by name. I would like to get on the record that neither I nor the ZBA, which I serve on as one of 5 members, has any control whatsoever as to animal control issues. So neither I nor the ZBA could help her if we wanted to. We're not empowered to do that. Moreover, again, I am one of 5 members on the ZBA, one of 5 votes, and in most cases, to grant a zoning variance, it requires a 2/3 majority per ordinance, which is 4 of 5 votes. Finally, I want to discuss the item that came up tonight regarding the discussion for a substitute municipal judge. I talked to Bob about this earlier in the week, and I have a number of concerns about this. First of all, I'm not really clear as to who the driving force is on this and who the advocate is and who wants it to happen. And assuming we figure that out, I keep hearing it's to do administrative paperwork. And if it's only administrative, that indicates to me that it's not urgent. And if it's not urgent, why can't it wait for our appointed judge to do it, who said that she's not the driving force on this, and her availability has been stellar to hear her tell it, and I've not heard anyone contradict that. All that said, I've read the state statute that Mr. Hale referred to as regarding the appointment of, or the creation of a municipal court for municipalities, and I quite agree with him that I'm not at all confident that this town is in compliance with state ordinance, because we clearly have a municipal court, and the state ordinance or the state statute is pretty clear to me that if you have a municipal court, that you must appoint a municipal clerk, or I'm sorry, a clerk of court. And I'm not clear that you've done that. So, and if you indeed you do that, it's also my opinion that if she does become the appointed clerk of court, then I think you have a clear dual office holding issue vis-a-vis the state constitution. Now, assuming you get through all those hoops, I have some issues with her being empowered to sign and issue arrest warrants and search warrants. Now, I think I know a little bit more about this than the average bear, because I taught constitutional law for about 9 years, particularly search warrants and arrest warrants. The U.S. Supreme Court has held repeatedly that all applications for search warrants and arrest warrants are to be evaluated by a, quote, neutral and detached magistrate, unquote. In this context, magistrate is in the generic sense, not the specific term that we use for that here. It means a judge. Now, I would argue that Ms. Hoffman would not be neutral and detached. Why? Because she is on the town payroll, and she may view, or someone in that position may view that as a tenuous position to be in when the chief of police or a police officer who was on the same payroll and works for the same town administrator comes to him or her and says, I need you to evaluate this search warrant or this arrest warrant application, and he or she might be inclined to look at it and determine that there's not probable cause, therefore the warrant should not issue, but he or she would be reluctant to do so, thinking, wait a minute, my job might be on the line here if I upset the chief of police or someone in the police department. The bottom line is they would not be neutral and detached, as the U.S. Supreme Court has repeatedly mandated. So I think you need to consider all these issues. I think this is just rife with pitfalls. I encourage you to ask Mr. Hale for advice and heed his advice on these concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Bob, would you do me a favor, please, and find out what the vote was when we established this talent pool, what the council vote was on that ordinance or that, and let me know by the next meeting. Thank you.
I believe it was unanimous.
Yeah.
Let us all know, would you, Bob?
Make a CD of it, too. I need a CD.
Okay.
A CD?
Yeah, so I can play it on my thing.
Lord, how are you?
Good evening. Michael Ward, 118 Ashbourne Road. I want to just echo my concerns. I agree with Mr. Glasspier's third comment there. As you look into this substitute judge situation and the state statute that says that we have to appoint or elect, I just want to make sure that we do. Yeah, we definitely. I just want to show you that from a citizen, that's my point of view and where I support. I definitely think we need to figure that out and then consider her to be the substitute judge. And the other point I wanted to make was I'm actually a huge fan of Robert's Rules. I know that sometimes when you're sitting in a position as a board or a council and you have to comply with those and they're not really in your favor, it sucks, okay? But I'm also a big fan of if you're going to use the rules, use them all the time and don't pick and choose when they're in your favor. And Mr. King, Mayor King, I would love at some point maybe to have coffee with you as you suggested on Facebook that we can do. The Roberts Rules that I have state that when you have nominations from the floor, as you did earlier, they do not require a second.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if
We didn't have nominations from the floor.
Excuse me?
We didn't have nominations from the floor.
What you had earlier was nominations from the floor.
No.
You're the
No.
Okay.
No,
What do we have?
They were motions.
Well, I'd love to have that discussion. So, and I
There's a
think
different process for
if
that.
we do follow the rules that we say we're going to follow and that we're told to follow,
Yeah.
maybe we won't end up in situations like we do with the DOJ. Thank you.
Michelle Carpenter, 112 London Pride Road. I have three things I want to talk about. I don't know what this whole book thing is, but if you said it was 24 years ago, how many years ago was it? Okay, so it's time to redo that. You have a duty. You have a duty to advertise whatever position is open so we can be represented by people that aren't his little buddies. You have a duty for us to be represented by people that live in Irmo that aren't his little buddies. That's your duty. You need to revisit that, and it needs to be gotten rid of. And the ZBA thing, I want to know, this is what I want to know. Why, and it has nothing to do with y'all, but y'all disapproved the carport thing, but the variance for that dilapidated piece of property that's over there and his buddy gets approved. The variance got approved for that. I want to know why. Why is that? It was a carport. It was a carport. It wasn't going to hurt you. Really, it wasn't. There was no reason that it should have been disapproved. How does it affect you? Do you live by that house? No. Do you live by that house? No. And the other thing I wanted to say is, Mayor King, you are the most unprofessional person I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm so sick of hearing and seeing what you put on there about all of us. We're your constituents. We voted you in, and we're going to vote you out.
Randy Clarkson. Glassmeyer, let's not embarrass the town anymore or make us look more ignorant. Everyone here and at home munching on popcorn knows what Miss Pat was referring to. There are 5 people on the ZBA board, but it's your signature and your handwriting and your remark that caused the DOJ to get involved with this, along with the council's lack of following federal law. That's the first thing. Secondly, I filled out 2 different applications for the talent pool. One was for ZBA when the ZBA opened, which, by the way, was advertised. The other was for any position. And I think what Kathy said is probably right. If you were looking for that, then it probably didn't come up. But I do find it funny that here in the same night we are trying to appoint, and please don't be offended, but from what I understand, a bona fide secretary, which is what I used to do, to sign warrants, someone who y'all have control over, mainly the mayor, to sign warrants. No. Please, God, please do that so that we can get some more federal people involved. That is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard in my life. I sign documents daily electronically. It takes all of 2 seconds. If the judge can't do that, we need a new judge. We don't need to move someone from a secretarial position to decide whether or not we have probable cause for warrants. Y'all are insane. Why'd y'all even discuss that? Oh, my God. Anyway, Then you go on to approve someone who no one has heard from, has not attended a meeting, nothing. And I have nothing against Ed, but haven't heard a word, haven't seen him since he lost. That's who y'all appointed to the Planning Commission. When you had several other qualified people who are involved in the town that you just happen to not like. So what good is a talent book? Why was it advertised last time? Was that so that y'all's friends could apply in time? Because it was all over Facebook. It was put out on the Town of Irmo Facebook page along with the citizen page. Barry was the one who made y'all do it, who brought it up. What was that, like 2 months ago? So why wasn't this one? Why should we have to continue to put in applications on the talent pool? We shouldn't have to do that. Why are you looking at an application from 2017 when you've got one that's less than 3 months old? When you've got at least 3, matter of fact. There wasn't an opening, so why would they check Planning Commission? See, I thought ahead and decided I'd go ahead and check everything because there's going to be a new council and I'd actually have a chance to help the town that I love instead of being discriminated against because I don't agree with you. It's not right. It's not fair, but it's what we've all come to expect from all of you.
Hey, Eric Sickinger, 417 Crestfell Road in Irmo. I just want to echo a piece of what Brandy said, which is I think possibly you should reconsider the process by which you approve someone to fill a vacant seat on a board or commission. It just kind of reeks of
cronyism.
Yeah, I mean favoritism, personal. It just doesn't feel right to me because if let's say there's 100 people who want to be on a board, now that would be awesome, right? As a town, that would what a crew of candidates, and then they all get listed, and then one person is allowed to nominate that name, and then. If that person is approved, then all of the other 99 aren't even considered or discussed, right? It just doesn't feel right to me in terms of transparency and the way that we treat those who raise their hand and say, I want to play a role in how this town decides things. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think we ought to throw out the talent book.
Hello, Hunter Hilly, 1421 Brookview Road. First of all, thank you, Barry, for your nomination for the Planning Commission. Obviously, I do want to be involved in the town. I am running for council next year. Hopefully, that'll be something that'll get this town to change a bit. First of all, I do think that the town does need to invest a little bit more, as we've seen tonight, in the technological budget of the town. I don't know what kind of issues were going on with the microphones, but a lot of times we couldn't hear you, and with a lot of them being recorded and shown to people who cannot be here, I do think that we need to look into the microphone issue. Another small thing that I did want to mention was the changes on the board were written in a burgundy color. Because of the way my eyes work, the burgundy and the black were very, very close to one another. So if you guys could possibly accommodate me in that regard. I mean, don't know about accommodations, but I also am quite disappointed in how the town has been treating this whole, disabled situation. I do hope that you guys will move forward and, fix kind of the actions that the zoning board has taken. But that's all I got. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Next is no executive session, and next is adjournment. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.